All right, let's get this party started. I left the quote up because I like it again. I'm leaving it for another day. It's going to remind me this week. That's the quote of the week. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Kavi, happy birthday. Happy birthday. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to all the familiar faces. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Well, yesterday was a good day. This looks a little bit. Let me fix this. Hold on now. There we go. Yesterday was a good day. Nice levels, perfect levels. I mean, awesome stuff. Nice action, nice downside. Love that downside when it's flowing like that, man. It's a great opportunity. I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm a better downside trader. I don't know. But yesterday just felt really good. You know, really in tune, 4 for 4, read everything pretty much like a book. And it was nice to just get up and walk away. Pretty much just walked away right after around 11:30. Didn't come back at all. I mean, that was a beautiful day. Didn't even look at the charts the rest of the day. Popped in maybe once or twice towards close just to see what happened. But just a day that I really enjoyed. And so that was a good day. Hope you guys all had a good day as well. Yesterday, trading some of those levels on the downside, some of those break and retest rejections. The 63.75 level we came into the day with on the S&P 500 was pretty much spot on. Was it 63.75? Yeah, it was 63.75, right? Yeah, 63.75. We came into the live stream yesterday talking about 6375 on ES, saying how this is the potential rejection point. We got to be careful to long into it. And that was the high of day. And we basically just failed the entire day off that level. So yesterday's live stream, I thought I would hope it would have prepared you very well. I think it was pretty much spot on. So hopefully that was a good value to you for free. For free, which is sometimes hard for me to stomach. But I'll continue to do it. Press that like button if you could. Getting this information for free every morning at 8 a.m. All you have to do is press the like button, subscribe to the channel. That would be highly appreciated. Appreciate that, Trader. Thank you for the coffee fund. I actually had to go and get myself a coffee today. Shout out Roadies. Maybe I can get sponsored by Roadies. Roadies Pit Stop. I ran out of espresso beans today. So now I can use the coffee fund to go buy some more espresso beans. I appreciate that, All right. Well, today, a little bit of semi-weakness is what I'm looking at. AMD, SMCI, downside on earnings. You're definitely seeing the SMH reject the daily 20 and move lower slightly. If that SMH starts to lead some downside, the market's going to come with it. So we have to be laser focused on what the SMH is doing. I would be very focused. We talked about this if you watched my Sunday prep video from last week on last Sunday, so just about 4 days ago, we talked about the SMH. We talked about how we have to be laser focused on the SMH. We talked about how this could be the main driver of the market if we do see some topping action. I think you're starting to see it a little bit, man. At least it's something different. It's not the same, strong type of market. It's sort of like all right, let's take a breather for a second. That doesn't mean that the market's going to tank 15-20%. That doesn't mean that Desi's saying the market's at the top and we're going to go 20% lower and I'm going to go ahead and put my whole account in put options. That's not what this means. But it absolutely is a cautionary pause in the frothy, straight up action, and it's very smart to be at least understanding that is going on, because that could protect you from being too long, from being long into previous supply, from being on the wrong side of the market. And to be honest, right, we're still in a market where pullbacks is good. So if we get pullbacks on the SMH, if we get downside on NVIDIA and AMD, if we see weakness on some names, it's probably a good buying opportunity. So let's just focus on where these levels are, where the breakdowns are, where the opportunity is. And that's that. That's all we do. So with that said, let's get started. If you could, press that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. And here we go. So, over to the charts. Let's get situated. Let's get the day going. All right. So, I think I have to buy a new monitor, man. My top monitor, something wrong with it. Might be in the market for new monitors here soon. Which I'm not upset about. I actually quite like shopping for monitors. Hold on, I think we're a little bit low on the volume side. All right. Shop. What's Shop doing? Damn. Oh man. Huh. Where's Jackie? Shout out Jackie. Who remembers when? I don't have it anymore. I lost confidence. I guess I just took profits, I guess you could say. Remember when we bought Shop at $35? Who remembers that? Who was there? Who was an OG? Who's the OGs that were here when we bought Shop at $35? Right here. I sold it at like 90s. I think around here, like the beginning of last year. Right around there. I took like 100 and something % profit. Now we're at 147. We're almost back to all-time highs. Incredible. Incredible. Shop bulls. The one-eyed shop bull. You guys should remember this. The one-eyed shop bull. All right. So very nice on Shopify. Congratulations there. Economic calendar today. What do we got? What do we got? I don't think we got much. Economic calendar today, all we have is the 10-year bond auction at 1 o'clock. That's really it. 10-year bond auction, 1 o'clock. Tomorrow we have unemployment claims at 8:30. So really not much to worry about on the economic side, economic calendar. On the earnings side, we had AMD SMCI yesterday. I'll pull this up right now. So we had McDonald's too, which actually reported pretty well, I think. Let me go ahead and get this going. So you guys can see right here. Yesterday, AMD SMCI both trading lower after earnings. Snapchat trading lower after earnings. What did Open Door do? Open Door is down. Okay, so that's back at $2 after making everyone chase it at $5. What did Upstart do? Basically flat, nothing. This morning, Uber, Shopify, Disney, McDonald's. Disney's flat, I believe, slightly lower. McDonald's slightly higher, 309. Uber is lower. Back to, oh, actually, it evened out. Okay, Uber came back, basically flat. Maybe this is something I'll talk about today. I like trading Uber. How did that Oscar stock do that everyone's been talking about? Basically flat. Okay, so nothing really big. I mean, really the only big ones to be talking about is AMD down, SMCI down, causing some SMH weakness, which we'll get over in just a second. So with that said, let's continue down the normal path of our live stream. If you guys could, please press that like button, subscribe to the channel. Here we go. So yesterday, Pretty spot on, man. Our 23,400, 23,465 zone on the NASDAQ futures, we talked about these previous highs that were previous lows that rejected here. And that's exactly where we were cautious of being long into yesterday. So it was pretty much perfection. I mean, I'm just going to put it at that. There was a pretty perfect read yesterday from us on the live stream. Previous highs into lows, turning back into highs, and that's exactly what we did. So that's a lower high, my friends. That is your first sort of very clear lower high on this market on the 1 hour chart and on the 4 hour chart and the larger time frames. So that's something to pay attention to. All right, that's something to pay attention to. You clearly have broken this very, very strong uptrend, right? You have broken this. You have broke below it. You have turned this previous high into another high. You have created, you know, what some might say is the start of some kind of head and shoulder topping formation. Very easy to adjust to, very easy to adapt to. If the market sort of has a downside day again and you're surprised, then you're just not paying attention. I mean, that's simply put. You know, it's like at this point, you see the market has broken the trend. You see the lower high forming. You know, to not be aware of this at this point is just sort of, it's just sort of irrational. So very clear. You got to be aware of it. Now, right, moving forward today, look at what's happening again. You have these previous lows here. You have this previous high here. You have this low from Thursday of last week. And you have that hold level from Monday that is turning into rejections at 23,250. I mean, it's pretty much perfect there again. If we go to the 30-minute chart, we can see that these previous lows right here are turning into rejections. And that's pretty spot on, right? Right here, daily 20 SMA, daily 20 SMA, rejection, rejection, previous holds, and that is a very clear spot that the market is fading off of this morning. So, in my opinion, right, if you stay below this daily 20, if you stay below 23,250, there's really no reason to think that this market's going to go higher with any type of strong, you know, upside continuation. It's just not simply there. What you need to do for upside at this point is reclaim the daily 20, reclaim 23,250, and then maybe you can get a little bit of upside towards this rejection from yesterday. But at that point, you're cautious of this again, right? What you really need to do to see upside on this market is clear out this 23,400, 23,465 level, which is exactly what we talked about yesterday. All right, we needed to see a hold back above this level, which we did not get. We got a clear failure off the open. We did not get the upside move. So today it's the same thesis, right? 23,250, daily 20 SMA. If we move up higher and start to reject this, well, that's a problem, right? That's more downside, my friends. That's what that is, right? That's staying structurally bearish here. If we stay under 23,250 in the daily 20, we're probably going to see the market trade back down to previous day lows, right? Back down to 23,000, 23,030. Back down to this low, back down to this low, back down to this high, right? The high that rejected from last Friday. If we break under that area, if we break under 23,000, 23,030, then you are going to trade right back down to Friday's lows at 22.8. And I think that's a fantastic trade to look for, right? Look for a break and retest rejection of previous day lows and this 23,000 area. If you can get that, this is a very nice downside trade right here. From 23,000 to 22.8, that's about 200 points on the NASDAQ. And I would absolutely be targeting some kind of a short through that area if the market does break and hold below that level today. You could also look for the pop and fade at the daily 20. If you're getting a little bit aggressive, you can look to see if there's a fade at the daily 20 again. I think that's very possible. If you reclaim the daily 20 today and you start to see a hold back above it, you are going to sort of slide higher up into the supply here. Very clear levels today. All you have to do is trade them. Right, here's sort of your channel to start the day. You could call this an NTZ if you want to get a little bit timid in that area. You don't want to be sort of chopped up in that zone. You could NTZ that zone and then only trade here and only trade here. Right, pretty clear stuff today. S&P 500, same exact story. We had 63.75 yesterday. This was our exact level we came into the day with as a potential rejection point, and we went straight down off of it. Perfect. So now what you need to see for upside, it's very clear. You have to get back over 63.75. There's really no reason to play longs on this market right now if you're under 63.75, in my opinion. You're longing in too much of a questionable, you don't know whether this is a lower high and a downside continuation. You've definitely broken some vibes, if you want to call it that. All right, the bullish vibe is breaking slightly. There's something snapping a little bit. All right, and if you're staying under 63.75, I really don't think I want to be on the long side of this market right now. Something has shifted, and I don't think it's the right side to be on if we're under 63.75. If you get over 63.75 and turn it back into support, then the bulls come back very strong and likely squeeze this market higher, right? Turning this consolidation into a new low right here, and then squeezing this to new highs. That's what you have to see to be long, in my opinion. Break and hold over 63.75. To the downside, right? And if maybe you can get another fade here at 63.75 today, that would be great. But to the downside, you can see the hold levels at the 63.10, 63.17. That's right here. That's this previous high. That's some of these previous lows. If you break below that, there's a little bit of a level here at 62.95, but I personally think you'd probably trade to 62.60, in my opinion. There's something here at 62.95, which I think you should be aware of. It's a little something. Just make sure you're cautious of it if you are short. 62.95. I would just put a little level there. Make sure you're aware that there's something there, right? There's these lows, these highs, these lows. You could see maybe a little bit of an overshoot and bounce back up there. That's very possible. So just be aware of that. If you break under 63.10, which is this high right here and the lows of yesterday, I think you will get that 62.95. There might be some opportunity there. Under 62.95, you're going to 62.60. What you could also do today is this, right? This is also what you could do today, my friends. That's very possible. And that's why we talked about the NTZ. Yesterday's lows, yesterday's highs. Where are you trading? You're trading right in between yesterday's lows and yesterday's highs. So when you open a day between the previous day highs and lows, there's a very good chance that you could channel and get stuck between it again. So make sure you understand that. SPY, same exact concepts. It's the exact same read. 634, 633. Lows here at 627, 626.50. That is the previous day high, previous day low. You're trading in between it. I would be cautious of fails and holds, right? And channel trading in between. If you break over 634 and you get a nice break and retest hold, then that would be your long, right? If you get a fail below 627, there's possibly some downside to this 625. Under 625, you're going to 620 again, okay? Same thing. I'm not going to spend time and go over the same thing again. Same thing. QQQ, same thing. Right here. It all just lines up really nice today. QQQ, 563. This was a level we had on our charts yesterday. This was the short we took yesterday, live trading in the community. We took a short on a break and retest under 563. Why did we take that trade? Pretty self-explanatory. Take a look at this, right? 563 was this previous high and these previous lows from the day prior. You can see where the QQQ tried to hold or tried to get above. It rejected. It squeezed back over and held, right? 563. Look what happened here at 563 yesterday, right here. Once you broke under 563, you had a massive rejection candle, and we took shorts right there for a beautiful little 35-40% gain to the downside on a break and hold below 563, which was the perfect level from the day prior. What else did 563 do? Look what 563 did later in the day, around 2 o'clock. Look at this. Bam. Spot on. I didn't even see this. That is gorgeous. So hopefully some of you out there in the Discord or maybe even here in the live stream caught this, because we were laser focused on 563 yesterday, and look at that later day. Holy hell. That is beautiful. So that's a key level. There's no doubt about that. 563. If you see a move into that today, you have to be cautious of that rejecting. If you get above 563, you already know that that's going to do a little reclaim ripper back to the upside. That's pretty clear, right? A little reclaim ripper over 563 today. That is possible if the market does find strength above it. But please be careful of the rejections as well. If you reject there, you trade possibly back down to 557.50. That is the lows here, the highs here, the lows here. That's the low of yesterday. And that's definitely an area that you could see a bounce off of. So what do you have? You have yourself a channel between 557.50 and 563 today. That's pretty clear. You can look for the long above. You can look for the short below, right? Or you can just stay away from in here if you so please. Up to you, right? Under 557.50, there's a nice short into 552. Okay. Really nice stuff today. Very clean stuff today. Sweetie pies. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for joining the coffee fund. Interesting outperformance on the IWM yesterday. What did we look for on the IWM yesterday? Again, spot on analysis. We were over that 218 spot. We said in the live stream yesterday, look for a break and retest of 218. Look for a pullback long at 218. That was this previous low, this previous low. Let's take a look at what happened. Yesterday, 218. Low of the day. Perfect pullback long off 218. That was about as perfect as it gets on the IWM. And as perfect as it gets with the break and retest, right? Here's your lows. Here's your break. Here's your retest. Here's your long. There you go. Perfect. So today, I'm not really that fond of trading the IWM today because you are sitting right in the center of the channel between 226 major highs and now 218 important lows. And you're pretty much just right in the middle of it. So really no interest there. What I need now is a pullback long at 218 again or a pop and rejection at 226, right? I need to see it trade at a key level. It is not. SMH. So this one's important. This one is important. And you're starting to see some topping. You're just starting to see a little bit of the topping look here, which is not bad because the SMH is up a lot, right? So there's really no reason to be concerned of some pullbacks on this stock, on this ETF. It's normal. But, you know, it's been up a lot. So a little bit of slowdown's possibly a good call. What did we talk about yesterday on the SMH? We talked about needing to get back above 293.50 in this previous quadruple top high. All right. What did it do? It failed it. That's important. All right. You failed back. You tried to push back above this high and you failed it. That's pretty key. What else did you do? You failed back under the 289 and the daily 20 SMA. You can see right here. Daily 20 SMA was the perfect rejection point yesterday. Look at what the SMH did off 289. Perfect. Diesel, I don't know, man. You must just not be looking at your charts, my friend, because they are all there. They are all there. All right. So, 289, daily 20, SMH, very clear. Very clear. That's your rejection point. Now, to the downside, there is still major demand, right? There is still major demand on the downside on the SMH. You can see right here. This area down here between 283 and 279.57 is still a major demand zone. So, this is still very, very cautious. You should be very cautious of getting too bearish here. All right. Yes, it looks like a nice rejection of the daily 20. It's a nice lower high at 293.50. But this definitely could hold again, right? There is definitely some demand down here on the SMH between 279.50, 280, and that 283 zone. We've seen it in the past. So, a little bit cautious today on the SMH, right? I don't really know if I want to take it short into this zone below. I definitely don't want to be long into this daily 20. So you're sort of stuck in a very tight channel here today on the SMH. And it's definitely sort of a decision day of what's next. If we get a break under 279.57, right, then I think you will get your downside move to fill this low volume area. Under this, I think you will move down to really 265. To fill in this straight up move here. Possibly 270 though would hold you up a little bit. So keeping an eye on 279.57 very closely here over the next few days to see what happens at that level. Okay. All right. That's that for the SMH. That's that for the market levels and the IWM. If you guys could, please press that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's go to individual equities. Tesla. So Tesla 312, again, what a smackdown off the exact level, 312. So there's really nothing there. You're still in this channel. I'm going to stay away from Tesla until it breaks out of this 305 to 312 channel. I really do believe there is an opportunity above 312 now, but the market's just not really in the situation it looks like to be looking for Tesla upside. So not interested yet. I'm just going to basically set alerts here between 312, 305, and just leave this one alone today. NVIDIA. So interesting, however, a little bit not. I mean, NVIDIA is a little bit just, I don't know if I want to be trading it too much today. Reason being is I think yesterday's reaction off 180 was really the key trade. That was the short-term trade to be looking for, was that fail back under 180, which was pretty damn clear yesterday, right? Take a look at this yesterday. Look at 180 yesterday. Fail, 180, fade that bear flag, right? Look at this bear flag. Nice little fade of the 180 rejection and a really nice downside trade on NVIDIA. I think that might be like the trade you sort of had to catch there, because the thing I'm cautious on NVIDIA to be looking short at this point is I don't want to be short near this daily 20 SMA, right? That's just simply not a place that I would, in my textbook, in my game plan, I really don't like shorting towards the daily 20 or near it. It's very, typically a very strong hold level unless it breaks and rejects. So for now, I think NVIDIA is probably just going to really chop you up between 174 and 180, right? You can see these 180 highs. You can see these 174 previous highs and very strong holds. I think this is probably what NVIDIA does today, right? A lot of nothing between this area, 174, 180. So I might stay away from this one today a little bit. I think the only way I get interested in NVIDIA is if it's under 171.50. Under 171.50, I think you can get more. That would be a break of the daily 20. That would be a move back down to 169. Until then, I'm just not really too fond of this one today. So going to move on from that. AMD. I like AMD today. I want to see what happens at 167. You guys know that 162 was our target on the downside. Unfortunately, that happens on earnings, so that sort of sucks. But, hey, it did exactly that. 162 was the target. Back to the daily 20. It did exactly that. It's trying to hold it this morning. Now, the key to be looking for today is whether or not AMD can reclaim 167, which is the Friday lows of last week. Can we get back above that? Can we get back over 167 and fill the earnings gap back towards the 175? That's interesting. Or does AMD reject 167, turn this into a lower high, fail below the daily 20, and give us that 157 and give us that 149 downside? That's interesting as well. So definitely watching what happens here, because AMD is sort of at a must-hold level in my eyes, right? I think you got to hold these previous highs here. I think you got to hold that daily 20. And to be bullish, you got to reclaim 167. So if you get the reclaim, I like the upside. If you see a rejection here at 167 and this fails back under 162, I think you got more downside here. So going to be watching that closely. Broadcom, not really too interested in today. It looks like it's got a channel between like these 290 highs and this 300 high here. I'm not too intrigued. I think AMD is really the only semi I'm watching today. Maybe MU if it fails back under 108. 108 break and retest rejection yesterday was awesome. It was short-lived, but it was awesome right here. Yesterday, intraday, you had a nice little break, retest, bear flag, rejection off 108. That was beautiful. Jonathan, shout out Jonathan in the mentorship. Crushed this one. That was a really nice trade. I know a couple other you guys also caught this one. This was perfect. So I'd be interested to see if it fails again, 108, because it is an important spot. If the SMH is weak, I like the 108 failure, these previous lows. Can it stay under 108 today again? If it can, I don't mind that trade lower, but we're going to have to see what the SMH is up to. Okay, so those are my semi-watches. Really just AMD that I see a good trade on today. So that's really where I'm going to stick by. Next two, Meta and Microsoft. So I was sort of looking for Microsoft to the upside yesterday. It never hit my, never did what it needed to do to be upside. And now I'm actually sort of interested in the downside on Meta and Microsoft. So here's Meta. Take a look at Meta here. Meta, previous major hold, 770. previous major hold 770, turning into a rejection at 770, and turning into a pre-market high at 770. If Meta stays under 770 today and turns this back into a new high, you are going to trade lower to, I think, at minimum 761. If you go under 761, which is Monday's lows, you have nothing but a gap, right, until 747. Right? If you look at this daily chart, there is a gap here. From these lows, right, to this open is a big gap in price action. I know it doesn't look like a gap on the chart because you basically opened here at the open of this candle. So I guess, on the daily you don't quite see it. But if you look at this, right, let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. So you can see right here, right, under this Monday low, right here, Monday low 7. I'm going to go ahead and put that actually down at that Monday low just so I don't get faked out there. 758.41. 758.41 would be that Monday low. If you break below that, you have a gap here that I think you could possibly look to get aggressive in. And you can see, look at what Meta's doing. Previous lows into highs. This is I like this trade a lot, actually. This is probably my top watch today, to be honest. So keeping very close eyes on this. 758.41 here. You break below that, you got a gap back to the 748, 750 area. You got a very clear rejection back under the 770, which can be your risk. I'm definitely keeping eyes on this one today. Microsoft, same exact trade setup. Look at this. So Microsoft, look at what it's doing right now. Really nice. And I hope this slows down for us. Don't go yet, Microsoft. Take a look at this setup on Microsoft. Previous holds, into rejections. Look what's happening in the pre-market today. Very clear. If you can break under this 528 spot, I think you will go lower. 528, this is the same setup as Meta. Look at this. Same exact setup. Gap's a little bit smaller here, right? You can see gap's a little bit smaller here. But I say target of 521 is definitely possible. If I look at this like this, right? Under 528, I think you can definitely see the 521 spot. But we'll have to see. Or, right, flip side of both of these trades is these get back over 533 and rip higher, right? Both sides. Other side of the trade is Meta, strong market today. Meta gets over 770. Guess what? It's ripping higher. So, key level regardless of which direction you look for. I like those two setups. Next to Oklo and Palantir. Oklo was an absolute thing of Oklo is just an awesome trade. Awesome stock to trade. We talked about Oklo over 80, and Oklo did exactly that. I mean, just perfect over 80. This stock has been just a pleasure to watch. Perfect break and retest over the $80 level. Beautiful opportunity there. Unfortunately, I just never really found my entry on that one yesterday, but today I will look for a pullback to 80 again, right? If we can get another pullback to 80, I will be looking for that to see if I can find an entry point. Pullback to 80 or over 85. Palantir, interesting. Big earnings gap. Holding up slightly. Getting a little bit stuck at 176. I think you have to hold 172 today. If you can hold this 172 and this previous high here, I think maybe you can try to look for this higher. If you break under 172 and actually put in like a clear rejection below this level, I think you probably could use some downside. 168, 165, that would be 162 gap fill. So I'm interested in both directions here on Palantir, but I don't know if I'm interested in longing into this Tuesday rejection because that looks pretty heavy. Yesterday's rejection looked pretty heavy. I don't really know if I want to long back into that. So if we get like a rip and then a pullback long here, then maybe. If not, I'm a little bit more eager to the downside here, to be honest. But I'll be watching both sides. Last two I got for you today is Coinbase and Circle. So let's take a look at Coinbase. Coinbase has been getting sort of hammered lately. There is a key level here in the 4-hour chart. Right here, these lows of 290, I think must hold. 290 must hold. Under 290, you have a pretty clear pocket of opportunity right here into 277 highs. So I'm sort of interested in that today. However, it's down pretty decent already, so I'm going to be a little bit more questioned of how much I want to drive this thing lower. But, I mean, look at this retest rejection yesterday. Wow. That is beautiful. 311. That is gorgeous. Friday low, Monday low. Look at the rejection of that low yesterday. Oh, man, that is nice. So, yeah, still very weak here on Coinbase. Let me go ahead and put this here. 310, 311, definitely a clear rejection point now. If you break under 290, I think you have a very nice downside to 277. So I'm going to be watching this 290 low here today. This is a pretty big spot. This is a pretty big spot here today. 290 on Coinbase. You can see, look what's under 290 here. Nothing. Really nothing until here, to be honest. But I'm assuming you'll find some support at these highs at 277. But take a look at this, man. Under this little structure low here at 290, you're going to get some juice. The low is 288 exactly. 288.17. So I don't know if you can put it exactly 288.17 just to be super cautious. At 288.17, that's the exact low that we have right here. Okay? So something to watch. It's definitely down a lot though, so I don't think I'd be surprised by some kind of a relief bounce here at some point, right? Just be careful of that. I would just sort of have an alert at those lows and see what happens. Daniel, appreciate that, man. Thank you for joining VIP. Okay, the last one I got for you today is Circle. And Circle's been a beautiful downside trade for the last week, and I think there is even more, right? I don't think this is done yet. So let me go ahead and show you why I don't think this is done. The lows at, I want to call it 150, 145. It could be down to this wick low at 143.50. You could put like a second line here at 143.50 just to be cautious. Right there, right? 143.50 to 145 zone probably finds a little bit of a demand. So that would be my first target. But if you break under this right here, you are going vertically lower, my friends. Probably to the 120 highs. That would be my target. 120 highs, maybe it's like the 127, 128 here, but these highs right here to these lows right here, take a look what's in between that. Not a whole hell of a lot. That is under 143.50, 145. Now, right now, which is just awesome and very clean, is look at this downside on Circle today. That's sort of showing up right now as we speak. Look at the break and retest of PDL. Actually, of Monday's lows. Look at this. All right, take a look at this. Monday's lows, break, retest. You could definitely look for the break and retest rejection of 154.50 today. This is Monday's lows. If that stays as a rejection point, which it is right now, this is going to go lower, in my opinion, maybe to your 145 level. So I am definitely going to be watching a little bit of Circle action to the downside today. This could definitely still float lower, in my opinion. I know it's been already floating, but there's more room here to be watching. So keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at some of those earnings names real quick. Uber, nothing here for me on Uber, to be honest. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's got to be over 94 for me. There's nothing there. SMCI, where's SMCI down to? SMCI, we talked about the weekly high. That's really all I'm going to note, guys. We talked about this weekly high. Last week we said, hey, I know everyone's horned up on SMCI, but you probably should watch out for this weekly major supply zone. That's been on the charts for years now. And, yeah, it rejected it. So, not much there. I'm not interested. It's just not that interesting to me. But if you want to look for this trade, yeah, you could watch 46, into a pretty big hold level here around 46. Do I trust it to hold? Probably not today, but we'll see. 46, big spot there. All I know is that it just failed a huge weekly high, so that's more important to me. All right, guys, that's going to be it. I went over my major watches. I'm not going to get into ancillary names. I really don't like anything on Apple today. It's just been sort of dead. It's in major demand, but really nothing there for me. Amazon sort of made the move yesterday and the day prior, so now you're just sitting right below right above a daily 20 and below a 50. This is just pinned, in my opinion. Set some alerts there. I don't think there's anything there on Amazon personally. Google, don't got much. It's just failing 200. If you want to fade 200 in this triple top high, maybe there's interest there, but Not much there. Nothing immediate for me on those. All right, NASDAQ futures, you got yourself an NTZ today. Be aware of it. You can very clearly see it right here. That's that, right? S&P 500, you can clearly see it, 63.75, 63.10, and that's that. Today is the mentorship day, so I'll see some of you guys there. Everyone else in the Discord, ADR on the mic today. Boom Boom Wednesday. ADR's been crushing it. Shout out ADR. So you guys will have her on the mic today within our community. And to the rest of you, hope you enjoyed the live stream. If you want to consider joining our group, you can check out the link down below in the description. And that's about it. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Oh, I was gonna say something on the merch. We are, I think the merch shop is actually live in WAP. If you go to your WAP platform, you'll see merch store. I think you can check out on those now, so check that out if you want to purchase some hats or some T-shirts. All right, have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace out. Now I can't get to my screen's messed up. There we go. All right, see you later.